A developer pushed to production instead of staging, causing a 20-minute rollback of buggy code. The culprit? A confusing remote name. Let's break down Git Remote. Manage repository connections safely, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Git Remote manages connections to remote repositories. It stores URLs and tracks remote branches, allowing you to fetch, pull, and push between repositories. Most developers work with a single remote called origin, but for teams with multiple environments, managing multiple remotes is essential. You can add, rename, and remove remotes. Use Git Remote add upstream for forked repos. Rename origin to something descriptive like production. Git Remote set URL changes the URL. Always use Git Remote show name before critical pushes to verify the remote. Here are the essential remote commands. Git Remote v shows all remotes. Add remotes with Git Remote add. Rename origin to production to avoid confusion. Use Git Remote show production to inspect details before pushing. Remove unused remotes with Git Remote remove. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The developer had two remotes, origin pointing to production and staging pointing to the test server. They had been testing on staging all week using Git push staging, but on deploy day, muscle memory defaulted to Git push origin. The production CI/CD pipeline detected the push and automatically deployed unverified code, causing a 20-minute outage. The remote origin pointed to production, but the developer assumed it was staging, causing unverified code to be pushed to production. Renaming origin to production and adding a staging remote clarifies the target. The fix involved renaming the ambiguous remote, adding a deploy gate, and implementing a pre-push hook. The developer renamed origin to production and added a new origin pointing to staging. A CI deploy gate now requires manual approval for production deployments. A pre-push hook checks the remote URL and warns before pushing to production. The default remote name, origin, is dangerously ambiguous. If you have both production and staging remotes, origin could point to either. Always rename origin to something descriptive like production to prevent accidental pushes. A pre-push hook can warn you when pushing to a production remote. This script checks the remote URL and prints a warning if it contains production. Without such a hook, you rely solely on memory, which is error-prone. Add a pre-push hook that checks the remote URL and requires confirmation when pushing to production. This directly addresses the incident described in the article. The Git Remote commands shown, e.g., Git Remote set URL push, are available since Git v1712, 2012. All modern Git versions support them. However, Git Remote get URL was introduced in Git v270, 2015. If using an older Git, replace Git Remote get URL with git config get remote origin URL. Add a CI step that fails if a remote named origin points to a production URL. This enforces the article's recommendation to rename origin to something descriptive. When debugging a remote misconfiguration, start by listing all remotes with Git Remote v. Use Git Remote show production to see details like fetch and push URLs. Check CI/CD logs to see which remote triggered the deploy. Always verify the remote URL before pushing. To summarize, always rename origin to something descriptive. Use Git Remote show to verify remote details before pushing. Implement pre-push hooks that warn when pushing to production. And consider using different fetch and push URLs for read-only and write access. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Git show, inspect commits, tags, and files in detail, then Git ignore, prevent secrets and bloat from entering your repo. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.